Capcom is installing a bunch of DRM on its PC games, preventing modding and preventing piracy. And I know PC gamers are crying about, like, oh, we'll just pirate it, we're gonna crack it. But in reality, not every PC gamer is going to crack the PC, right? What what's gonna happen is that inevitably people are going to migrate back to the superior console platforms, and the myth that PC gaming is the superior option is has taken another blow, essentially. Like, no longer can you pretend that, like, oh, mods will fix it, because there will be no mods. No longer can you pretend that, like, oh, games run better on PC, because they don't. Right? In order to prevent piracy, because it's so prevalent on PC platforms, Capcom has to implement Denuvo. And with Denuvo, these games start lagging behind other platforms, right? Like, because of this intensive DRM unit that they have to have, because, PC gamers are all pirates, their games are going to look and run worse than they would on Nintendo platforms. And of course, they are already doing that anyway. But when you actually look at, like, the reality of it, when you're seeing how many people are coping and seething, this is something that is going to be a major blow against PC gaming. And first of all, let's laugh at the fact this is Capcom of all companies that are doing this, because, for the past couple of years there's been this, like, pervasive narrative that Capcom is in this new golden age, and they've been putting out nothing but bangers like Resident Evil 2 2 remake and Devil May Cry 5 and Monster Hunter World, all of which were terrible, by the way. There's been this pervasive narrative that, like, oh, Capcom, it's one of the best studios at gaming, like, simply because they've been putting out PC games. So to finally see PC gamers admit reality that Capcom isn't what they used to be. Well, first of all, like, why exactly did it take them implementing anti-piracy measures to get this to happen, right? Because this isn't just like a situation where people are just like, wow, Capcom isn't as good as they were in the 90s. Like, no, right? This is PC gamers upset that they can't pirate the games anymore. Right? This is PC gamers seething that their platform is being exposed as being inferior to Nintendo platforms, right? This is PC gamers coming out and just trying to damage control this situation, because Capcom has implemented the DRM into, like, their entire back catalog of games on Steam, right? They've gone out of their way to implement all of these anti-piracy measures on older games, which means that even if a game launches with Denuvo today, that a week from now, that, like, they can just implement it whenever, right? Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that will, like, destroy the relevancy of PC gaming, is that the looming threat of this anti-piracy software is going to completely stop any hope of pirating games in the future. And I know PC gamers are seething, but, like, that's the reality of it, is that, like, companies are always going to want to stop piracy because their goal is to make money. Like, this doesn't work the way Raging Golden Eagle thinks it works, right? That, like, oh, I'll just pirate the game because a company did something I didn't like 10 years ago. Like, no, like, you're going to have to acknowledge that this is a business, and that Capcom needs to take initiative to stop this kind of rampant thing. And what they really should do in general is just not release on PC to begin with. All these Japanese companies need to just stop. But, they have to release on PC, because there just is no justifying the fact that Nintendo Switch is the most popular platform in the world right now, and companies are, like, desperately doing everything they can to try and stay off of it, trying to keep those other platforms relevant. So they have to keep people, like, complacent with these PC versions of games, because nobody wants to buy a PlayStation and Xbox anymore, right? They have to keep people from complaining too much, so they have to keep releasing on PC. They have to keep the fanboys just just happily just pirating their products, right? They have to keep these these people, quote unquote, like from migrating to Nintendo platforms and realizing that it's a better experience. But at the same time, they actually need to start selling product because more and more it's becoming a problem with the way mods work and the way uh, the community is set up that you cannot sell these costume DLCs to these people, right? Why would people get excited for Spy Family collaborations when they can just mod it in, right? Why would they get mad for like sexy Chun-Li costumes when you just know that modders are just throwing in like more things, more ridiculous things in there, like that naked mod that was shown off at like a tournament or whatever. Like, why would you do that? Like, the reality is that that the PC gaming community is costing Capcom money. And they have to crack down on it. They have to implement methods to prevent people from doing what they're doing on PC in order to protect their brand, protect their interests, and protect their games. And I'm not sure I disagree with the notion of them doing that because I think people really tend to overstate the value of mods. I think people tend to really overstate the value of piracy. I think people tend to overstate the value of PC gaming in general, right? Like, I think that at the absolute most, PC gaming is about on par with console gaming. Like, it is the exact same thing. And people don't want to admit that. When you actually look at what PC gamers do, they always pretend that, like, oh, we're having a completely grand, better experience on PC. How? Like, how is it better? What games are you playing? What games are available on PC? Like, what's different about them? And like they'll always like bleed on about like mods or how they're getting everything for free, but that it's never actually true because mods don't radically change the way the game plays. It makes it unbalanced, or alternatively, it's just like a sexual content, right? That doesn't need to be in the game to begin with. And when it comes to piracy, of course, like they're they always do this thing where they pretend that like, oh, emulation is illegal while like downplaying how you have to have like when you look at the FAQ for Dolphin and it tells you like the official way in which you're supposed to get ROMs on your PC, you have to have like a modded Wii, and you have to have a physical copy of the game, and you have to dump it like yourself. Like it's like, okay, nobody's gonna do that, right? Nobody does that. All anybody does is just goes online and just pirates, like downloads a game, right? Which is illegal, right? And they keep coping about it. They keep saying that they have copies of every game ever made, but in reality, that's not true at all. It's obviously not true at all if you look at the way they talk about pirating Nintendo games, but they keep pretending it is true that they aren't doing anything illegal. Like, that's kind of a meme in this community, is that like, oh, I'm playing a legally emulated copy. Like, they always dance around the issue that like emulation in and of itself is not legal because it implies piracy, right? Like, they just ignore the actual issue and try to gaslight you into thinking some that there's some epic high level gamer when in reality they're just a cheap parasite that won't pay 60, 70 bucks for a product, right? So with that in mind, what can we expect to see further? Um, this is going to be a trend, I think, in that like mods are going to be increasingly cracked down on from companies because they're causing problems for them. Uh, they're they're not making them any money, and it's just kind of a disgusting practice in general. Piracy is going to continue to be cracked down on. They're going to implement new laws to kind of restrict emulation even further. People are going to get arrested. You're going to see a lot more like a lot more pushback to the idea that you can just play everything you want on PC for free. Like if that was true, like you wouldn't need like a video game preservation society or whatever, right? Like it just isn't true at all, right? When you look at the current state of things, when you look at like how things are playing out, like it could not be more obvious that the PC gaming master race is built on nothing but a foundation of lies. If PC gaming was so great, you wouldn't have these kind of problems. You wouldn't have these issues with companies putting more restrictions on games and stuff like that. You would have workarounds, you would have things you could do, but it's becoming harder and harder to to justify this, right? It's becoming harder and harder to justify PC gaming. Like companies are determined to restrict PC gaming the same way that consoles are restricted. And it is only a matter of time until they have that entire puppy locked down completely. And when that happens, now that it's happening now, it could not be more obvious that the PC master race is a lie and that PC gaming is inferior to consoles because it is significantly more expensive with no real benefit.